Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, but we're here to bring you as much light and as much joy as we humanly can. And I'm joined by the light of my life, Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Oh, not too bad. The feeling is reciprocated. But yeah, I'm not bad. I'm waiting for my copy of Death Stranding 2 to arrive. So I'm eagerly awaiting some transhuman entertainment as soon as that's here.
We won't have any of that on this podcast, Stu.
What? Just because I used the word trans?
Yes!
Yeah, anti-trans all the way. No.
I've got very little interest in Death Stranding 2 because, to be honest, I got bored of the first one. However, like Kojima being Kojima has one of the most useless but amazing things going on in the game that actually kind of intrigues me. That obviously it's everyone shares the same game world or something in this, don't they? And it's apparently if everyone or enough people use the exact same route, it creates a natural road. So, like, you can all be using the same route in a drivable vehicle or something. And if enough people use it, it turns it from, like, dust or grass or natural environment into an actual road. And I'm like, yeah, that's the most stupidest detail possible. But, of course, Kojima's done that.
Oh, God, yeah. There was loads of that in the original game. It was really good. You know, people leaving stuff, little caches of stuff that you could pick up, and you could use other people's roads if they'd reached a certain level of development. Oh, it's so cool.
It's not for me. It's not for me. I appreciate what the first game was. Just it's not for me.
Well, if you look up Marmite in the dictionary, this game appears because it really is totally Marmite. But yeah, just click with me. But we'll see with the new one. We'll see.
Yes. Is it still weird babies in yellow liquid type stuff?
I think there's an element of that, but it's not got the actual baby because the baby's grown up, I think. But yeah, I will report back next week.
Yeah, you can try and make sense of the story. Does it still have Jeff in it?
Who can say? Although, wasn't Jeff... Don't you mean Jeff from Half-Life Alyx? Was that Jeff?
No, I meant Jeff Keighley.
Oh, Jeff Keighley. I don't think so.
Okay, good. Oh dear, I can't believe that's how. It's kind of weird. It's one of the biggest titles, and but for me, it's just kind of snuck out a bit.
Yeah, it was. He only got reported as properly announced about a year ago, I think. So it's felt comparatively quick. Although it's been 5-6 years since the first one, but. Yeah, it's kind of snuck out in its odd little way.
Weird, fair enough. Anyway.
We're
not here to talk about video games, Stu.
Are we not?
No, not talking about video games, Stu.
Right.
Video games, Stu.
Video games, that's the one.
Yes. You've been playing some, but ask the question.
Well, as normal, you've been playing far more than I have, so what have you been playing?
So I play catch-up a bit at the moment because... whilst I was ill moving, I was playing a fair amount of video games, but just didn't have the time to talk about them. And I want to talk about, to start with, a pair of video games that I've been playing. Actually, a trilogy of video games, but I can't talk about one of them yet. They're not trilogies in related, but the theme is related. One of them's Islanders New Shores, but it's embargoed. I'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. But the first ones I want to talk about is Preserve, which is a tile-based, turn-based type thing where you've got to rebuild nature on a hexagonal grid. So if you consider something like Dorfromantic, which was that idea of you get cards, you've got to place them down to build habitats, essentially, and you get points based on what you do. This is similar, but without the puzzle elements of Dorfromantic. So in Preserve, what you do is you get this hexagonal grid, and you have to basically water it to allow nature to thrive. And then you get different types of land tiles. So you'll get like a grass, flowers, wooded, mountainous, etc., etc. And then once you've got at least 3 tiles down and you create a habitat, you can then place animal tiles in that as well, and you get points for every tile you put down. So you might get, in the wooded area, you might get boars, you might get wolves and things like that. And what you put down and where depends how many points you get. So you might create a wooded landscape with like 12 different tiles put down. That's the kind of maximum you can really want to put down, because that allows you to put three animal tiles in. And then if you get 3 of the same animal, you get rewarded with bonus points. If you then put down 3 different animals, you get more bonus points because you create a harmony and all different things like that. And the skill with this comes, the more points you get, the more unlocks you get. And whereas you start with maybe 1 grid there, you can then earn other grids to open up alongside. And the strategy comes from what you place down and where. And you start off with, there's a biome which is kind of like all like foresty and greenery, and then there's like this like savannah style biome that you get a bit later. It's more wildlife, like I suppose like the African plains and stuff like that. And if you reach certain tasks, you can get special cards which can give you more bonus points, etc., etc. And it's all about just creating these beautiful biomes, these beautiful habitats, and earning points through tile placement. It's the sort of thing that you can imagine could work as a board game as well, like a lot of these games do. But it's also very arty in terms of, once you reach all your goals, you can just continue playing if you like, and it's all about just like, what can you build, what looks lovely, and so on and so forth. Can you have like a river that flows all the way through the world that you've created? Can you create a biome that's like, this area's all very green, this area's quite rocky, but knowing that you need to separate them, because if you put together 2 lots of 12 rocky elements and they merge, they become unsustainable because you've got like too much going on in there. And it's all little things like that you need to consider. And so it's a really good way of teaching, I think, as well, about how nature works together in certain ways. So you know that you can't, like in nature, you can't exactly have like a rainforest with a desert, so to speak, that like as one, because if the animals tried to merge together, it wouldn't work. It'd create an imbalance. So you get to learn about these kind of things, but without it preaching to you. It's core. It's just this pure puzzle strategy game, and I played it for a bit initially, and I was like, oh yeah, this is good. I like it. It's not Dorfromantic. And then I kind of went at it again after a break and didn't think of it like, oh, is it just trying to be Dorfromantic because of the hexagons and the nature and stuff like that, and looked at it as its own thing. I just had a wonderful time. Just found myself losing 2 to 3 hours a time, just like building these wonderful biomes and trying to beat the high scores. There's like a weekly challenge in there as well, which I think is a really great idea. Different leaderboards and stuff, and yeah, it's just absolutely brilliant. Plays wonderfully well on the deck as well, and it's lovely to look at. It's great to play, and it's definitely one just worth having about.
Oh, very good. It looks very nice, which is always a bonus.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, sounds like a decent one to get.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to follow up from that as well, because I say these two are kind of together, so before I let you get to yours, one of the other games I've been playing, and I've been looking forward to this one for ages, and again I've been playing this on and off, is Islands and Trains, which is just the most stress-free game you can play. There's no point to it. You just literally are creating dioramas of worlds, and you just create these train tracks that go through them and just create these living dioramas. So it's almost like model train set in a way, but without the being a realistic model train set aesthetic. You can get this like stylized, obviously, type thing. aesthetic where you build the island. You can build like towns in there, a castle if you want, or lots of nature areas, and then you build the train tracks that go through them. So there's tunnels, there's bridges. You might be going through like, you can almost create this like Grand Canyon type thing going on if you really wanted to, or I suppose like this ancient medieval style town that you need to go through. You can put stations down or not if you don't want to. Trains that go off in different directions, and I done one where I created this like amazing lake that became the feature of this like island I created that had a lake in the middle, and you could put like piers on it, and then it's like almost like little seaside town that was surrounding one edge of this massive lake I'd built. And then sort of like off that in different parts, there was like this massive wooded area and stuff, and it's very train centric with it, and it's one thing I think it's missing, and it's not an issue with it because it's called Islands and Trains. Is I'd like to see some extra transport things in there, so maybe like to build roads, so you can have cars and stuff like that doing their little bits. You know, can you build like can you build a like maybe a shopping area or a town centre or something that has lots of little people walking in. At the moment, it's just you build a diorama that it looks like, and you have the train moving around, and it's enough. But it's definitely something I'd like to see added to it, because it's just a game where you sit down with a blank canvas and just build naturally. So there's very little in terms of limitations. You can add bits, remove bits as you see fit. You can merge things together to create whole different types of new things. You can do some wonderful structures with nature and so on and so forth. And it is just completely just open to do what you want. And I love creative games like that. I mean, I've seen some things that people have made and they are spectacular. I'm not one who's great at spectacular design of like stuff like this. I'll just do what I've got to do, but it's just another one of those games that is just the most amazing thing to have, and the fact we've got these things and they can exist in a world alongside the likes of an upcoming Kojima Death Stranding game, and appeal to a different audience to those is I just shows the power of video games as a whole. And again, what happens if you step away from the usual yearly releases that we get? Because this is, again, just beautiful is all I can say about this one.
Yeah, it does look lovely. It sounds like you want islands and trains and planes and automobiles, just to shoehorn in a terrible joke. I was also going to shoehorn in, like, Preserve was going to be like, is that like a jam simulator or something? But it's probably best that I don't get the opportunity to say these jokes, really.
No, definitely not, because they're just useless.
Yeah, they are, to be fair.
And unfortunately, unlike Islands and Trains, when you make a mistake like that, we can't just delete you and start again.
Many have tried. Certainly the delete part.
It sounds like you've had hitmen after you constantly now. You live in that world.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, two brilliant games, all about creation, and it's sometimes nice to offset the killing.
It is, and what I like about Death Stranding is that, like a classic Kojima game, in that you can choose to not kill anybody, and choosing to kill is actually more of a challenge than not killing. So, yeah.
As it should be.
Exactly.
As it should be.
Precisely.
There's a Tory government joke there somewhere. I'm not going down it today because I want to be in a good mood at the end of the podcast.
Fair enough.
So, that's my creation. I am the creationist. Something like that. I don't know. What have you been playing, Stu?
Well, I've been playing something very different, and what that is Tahitian Drifting, it's called. And it's drifting with an apostrophe at the end, not drifting, drifting, you see, because it's down with the kids. It's one of them. And
yeah, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And it answers that question of what would happen if you mashed up Outrun with F-Zero, right? So, yeah, that's a fairly good question to ask, and a good one to answer with a video game.
You've intrigued me. Yes, you've intrigued me.
Well,
now.
yeah, that's it. And so, yeah, it is. It's basically it's like an anti-grav racer, as you'd expect, and it's sort of 70% F-Zero, 30% Wipeout. So you race your anti-gravs around a course. The courses are set out, and they're kind of a blend of F-Zero, sort of twisty, very long. You can see them in the distance. That the corners are well noted, but because you're going at speed, they're still difficult to to take, which is a bit different from wipeouts, which tend to be these very clustered urban environments, very dense, apart from the odd one, but, talking in generalities. And it takes the wipeout approach of you being quite wedded to the track and it not having, well, not least so far that I've seen, sort of rotatable tracks that are 360, that are like completely anti-gravity. A much more kind of classic roller coaster style, but the actual gameplay itself is more F-Zero. So you have no weaponry and you don't even bash into others where you can, but that's not going to get you anywhere. And it's more about maintaining the highest speed and taking sort of smooth corners, again, as opposed to Wipeout, which is as much about combat and taking good lines and making sure you judiciously use air brakes. So, yeah, it's a blend of the two. What's very, not different about it, but kind of refined, there's a handful of things, really. So one is that it's gone for the Outrun aesthetic of being, okay, even though it's set in the future, it's got that Sega Blue Skies kind of look to it. So the happiness of like always being in your peripheral vision of something exciting, fun and bright, primary colours, normally only a couple of colourway contrasts, so that it's just always enticing, which is lovely. I love it when games do that. Very arcadey approach. And it hasn't got, as I say, it hasn't got weapons, but you can get speed pickups, which you can bank and then use when you want, which is very F-Zero, although that uses a little side part of pit stop to build up that bar. It does enough to make it characteristically its own, so it's very much in the genre, but it's definitely standing out on its own. It does it creates and supports its own platform, really. So one of the key things it does is the enemies that you're competing against, they have a trail, like a vapor trail, and that sustains for quite a while, even if they're quite far ahead. And you get into that to draft, like do drafting. So you can draft them from quite far away, and you have to maintain the draft for quite a while, like several seconds before you start to pick up in speed. But it's like a free speed boost. So it kind of gets around the whole rubber banding thing quite well with that, because it's just a nice way of never leaving you fully behind and you never fully leaving the enemies behind. So that's clever, that's good, and it works well as a mechanic. And also, the handling is really good and it feels very distinct. So it's most like F-Zero, but it doesn't feel like a copy, not by any stretch of the imagination. There's several cars you can pick from right from the start, and they all feel very different with the handling characteristics. But they're all notably tougher to shift around the course than either Wipeout or F-Zero, which might sound like, oh god, that's a bit of a mistake, but it isn't, because the routes are planned like that. You have to be very prepped. You're given warnings about corners and jumps and things like that, which is great. It's very cleverly used, and it ties in with the Outrun theme again, because it has like not just Outrun, but Sega Rally. It goes like easy left, easy right, over jump, which is a bit crazy for this kind of a anti-grav game, but it works. It's fun. It's just it's tight and it's precise, but it doesn't feel unfair. And as I say, notably feels different, and your car feels very wedded to the track, in a good way. So in Wipeout, you felt wedded to the track until you hit something, or unless you took a jump, and in F-Zero you feel it until you get hit by another car, and then you can easily spin out off your axis. It kind of sits in the mid of that. You feel quite wedded. You feel almost as if you're on wheels until you kind of hit corners or you strike something, and that works very nicely. leans into that as well with the boost system, where if you hit a boost on the track, so one of the panels that gives you a boost, you can't move, you can't change your direction. So you get a warning it's coming in advance, and you have to align yourself so that you know you're not going to go flying off in a weird direction, so because you're going to be like on rails for that section. Again, that's a new kind of a way of doing it, and it works, so that's really nice. Only negatives are that there's very few tracks. There's only 3 at the moment, and there are 3 reverse tracks, 6 total, but that's just mirrored, not reverse, sorry, mirrored. So there's only 3 tracks at the moment, and there's no like championship or Grand Prix or anything like that. You can race against a grid, but it's just a one-off, and all of the events are just one-off events, like head-to-head, time trial, that sort of thing. Only 3 courses, nothing that saves, no championship. So the developer on Steam says that they're adding new tracks to it. There's going to be new content coming, and the price is very, very low, which is great. It's like under a £5 here, probably around €5, $5, I would say, as well, if you're overseas. And it's really nice to see. It's got that platform, that good foundation of being inherently a good racing game. The tracks they've put in are good, they're exciting, and they look pretty. It's styled after like PS1, but high res and widescreen and blah blah blah, but it looks PS1ish. And yeah, it's, as I say, it's got a great basis for being a really exciting game, so I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's on my wasn't quite on my wish list. It was on my pre-wish list, keep an eye on list. But it sounds worth adding to the wish list if they can add all the content in there. But also, you say, for under a £5, is it an early access release? Did you? Well,
it's not actually listed as early access. It's just notes in the game description that more stuff's going to be added. So it's classed as the full release, and we've got to go on goodwill, really, I suppose, that there'll be more added. But yeah, it's one of those that if you're a fan of these kinds of anti-grav games, you probably want to jump in and give it a go. But if you're not a fan or you're not an obsessive like me, then wait until more content arrives. But yeah, as I say, really good basis for a game in there.
Yeah, no, it looks it, it sounds it. I think for me, I've got so much to play at the moment. I think I'll promote it to the wish list.
Yeah, I think that's fair. See where it ends up.
Yes. Now we've done a lot of creativity, Stu. We've done some racing, Stu. Would you like to go back to the 80s, Stu?
All right, I will visit there with you because you're a friend.
Okay, and live inside a computer?
Possibly not.
You sure you don't want to live inside a computer?
Amazingly, no.
You get a cool motorcycle, Stu.
Oh, okay, I'm sold. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, there you go. As you know, my 2 favourite developers in all the video games are, one, the wonderful Sam Barlow, who can't put a foot wrong, in my opinion, and also the excellent, amazing, down-to-earth, but also very talented Mike Bithell, who has an amazing history from Thomas Was Alone to Volume to the under-the-radar, underappreciated Solitaire Conspiracy. And then last year, I think it was still last year, he was given the TRON license and he made a visual novel, which was a bit different from what I would expect from Mike Bithell, but it was a visual novel. I thought it was really good. It really delved into TRON's story and sort of like the lore of the world and stuff like that. But for me, Mike Bithell is all about a certain type of game, like whether it's a puzzle game like Volume was, or this like stealthy action game, or Thomas Was Alone, which had this story through very basic gameplay and stuff like that. And with Tron Catalyst, his latest, he's gone back to that to some degree. Visually, it's still very much in the same world as Tron Legacy that he'd done previously. Actually, I've got to remember if it is called Tron. There's so many different Tron things. Sorry, Tron Identity. Tron Legacy, I think, was a film, possibly. I don't know. But Tron Identity, sorry, which is the visual novel we did. And this is clearly set in that same universe. And I think he's been given carte blanche to do what he wants in a way with the Tron, license. But what this one is more of a Hades in some ways in the Tron world, where you play a character in there, and they're sort of a prisoner that's trapped in a time loop, and you need to try and escape that time loop to set free the world of what's going on in the world. There's a story behind it, and I'm trying not to delve into the story during this. But basically, there's reasons you've got to try and break free from this loop, but use the loop to break free. So you're told, you've been captured, and to earn your freedom, you've got to join this Bloodsport-esque Running Man style thing where you enter an arena and you've got to fight enemies until you've beaten them all. You can become popular, you get privileges that other prisoners don't get, and so on and so forth. And basically that's just to teach you how to use the fighting mechanics and so on. So you go in and you do all that, and then mysterious stranger appears and goes, "Oh, you can now do this," and you then break out of the loop. You get to a certain part, go back to the beginning, go do some other bits you couldn't do before, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. Eventually you get a light cycle, which is amazing, and you can use the light cycle to do certain bits. You got your disc that you throw, and all different things like that. But you are still stuck in this time loop, which is a really great mechanic. So you could the more, like, each loop you do, you learn new things, or you can maybe gain new abilities that allow you to maybe take a shortcut you couldn't have done before to go further into the world. And then you basically repeat. You're doing all these actions, having all these fights, like light cycle chases and all kinds. It's very much feels like you're in this Tron universe. And for someone like me who grew up watching Tron and looked at Tron like I'm sure we all did, of going, "Oh my god, this is the future." In some way, even though it wasn't the future, it's you look back at it now and it still looks so dated, but still somehow still so futuristic. It takes the whole story of Tron, takes the whole world of Tron to new levels. And I think what Mike Biffle's doing and what Disney are allowing him to do is go, look, this was a film series. We think the film series now possibly has run its course. We don't think we can do much more with the films. So what can we do by actually using Tron in its actual environment, which is computer systems and so on. And Mike Biffle is such a great storyteller. I think he's done a great job with this. But it blends, it's the action that goes in with it. Like when you're constantly fighting enemies that are trying to get to you, you're having these chases with light cycles and all the different abilities you unlock, the exploration that goes along with it, all just balances absolutely wonderfully. I don't think this is anywhere near close to Biffle's best. I still think that goes down to volume, and Thomas was alone. I still think they are he's absolute Magnus Opums or Open Magnuses, whatever. I'll never get that the right way round. You know that, Stu. But it's, in terms of Tron properties, it's up there with the original films and stuff like that. In terms of this is special. This feels like something that's a world away from what we usually have, which is what Tron always was to me. It was just like this most intriguing story in this world that didn't feel like you could ever believe was real, so to speak. And he's managed to capture that here. You feel trapped. One of the things I think Tron done really well was being a cog in a machine, and what happens if you try and break out from that. And I think they've done a really good way of doing this. And this does that as well. Everyone that you meet has their role, And it's kind of like, no, you've got to be this for the world to work, because it's inside a computer. If something breaks inside a computer, code goes wrong, something goes wrong, and that's what Tron does really well. And it's obviously an allegory for our world, so to speak. And again, you are a rebel. You are the rebel within this. You don't know why. You've got amnesia. And just the way the story develops around you it's just really well done. As I said, it's taken some of the concepts from the likes of a Hades or a Dead Cells or something like that. It's taken those concepts and moulded them into its own thing that it just doesn't feel like it's those games with a new skin on. Whereas to me, it feels like this is where it works. It's a Tron game with elements of those things and it complements both like the Tron films, any other like some of the comics I've read in the past. It very much complements Tron Identity, which I thought was a wonderful visual novel, but always felt like it needed something that I could do in it. And this is what this offers. And I say, I don't think this is going to be one that will be this big breakout hit, so to speak. But for people who enjoy Tron and like Tron, this is well worth getting.
Yeah, I've very firmly put that on the wish list because I do like Tron games. And I have a weird relationship with the Tron franchise. Some of it, really gets me and some of it really pushes me away. It's a very strange, very strange one. I think because there's so many years between projects that the character of it changes a lot, And I think that's borne out by the fact that, unfortunately, they are doing another film, that Tron Ares, which has got Jared Leto in it, who fucking can't stand. So I am not giving that my money, I can tell you that. But, the game, and Bithell, I think I'll have to go for that.
Yeah, I think the problem with Tron in the movie sphere is that they get so overhyped because there's such a gap between them. I think it needs to lean into somewhat that it's not a modern thing. Or you go, right, look, this is Tron of the past. This is new Tron. Technology moves on. Rather than trying to ape what it was originally, just go, right, obviously stuff like this doesn't work anymore because technology moves on. Let's move technology on. Let's not bring back, who was it? Not Michael Douglas.
Jeff Bridges?
Jeff Bridges, that's it. Mine went blank then. Let's not try computer enhanced Jeff Bridges again because that just looked weird.
You've got to try and create something a bit timeless, really. And I think the first film is unique in that because it used that thing of very meticulously hand tracing over real people for a lot of it. A lot of it wasn't computer graphics; it was old stuff, but just repurposed for a new world. And you got to do that. You've got to come up with new ideas, really, and like you say, create your own aesthetic. I think what might be good, and I think this is probably going to be my suggestion for just about every franchise going at the moment, is like 28 years later, if you're going to reinvigorate a franchise, shoot a few of them back to back quite cheap and then release them within about 6 months to a year of each other, which is a gamble because if people hate the first one, then you're in stuck. But if they do like it, they've got something down the road, it's going to have the same feel, it's going to have the same actors, it's going to have the same aesthetic. And if people like it, then you're on a winner with that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'd still think with 28 years later, they missed the trick by not actually releasing it 28 years later.
Well, it would have been ideal.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you'd have filmed that back to back to back and then still released it with the first one, like do your trailer, release the first one 28 days later, release the next one 28 weeks later, and then go right the trilogy. Guess when that's coming? But all filmed back to back to back, so it's all still got that same look. I do think they missed the trick with that one.
Yeah, well, they have done that for 28 years later. The next one's come out in January, which is 28 weeks later after the release of this one, which is pretty clever.
Okay. Oh, I thought 28 years later was the final of a trilogy.
Yeah, no, it's the start of a new trilogy. Yeah.
Or a trilogy, because the first one wasn't a trilogy.
Well, yeah,
it was. sequel film turned into a sequel to now a trilogy, but it's not a trilogy, it's a new trilogy. It's quintology. Well, like Alien was at one point.
Quadrilogy, they called that, which is
Oh, that's
they
if you
made
got
up.
the Alien head. I had that Alien head DVD box set. It was amazing.
It's good, that.
Yeah, that's... Do you remember when we done things like that?
Yeah, I know. Well, part of me loves it and part of me thinks it's a terrible waste of plastic, but I do kind of like it.
My favourite one was I got one of the original Fight Club DVDs that was actually wrapped in brown paper and string.
Oh, did you? Oh, nice one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I lost it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. When I was young and I worked in a video store and that, I was properly collecting special edition DVDs and stuff. I had the original like DVD print of Snow White that had the storybook stuff and everything with it, and that was magical. And that got ruined in a move, and yeah.
Oh, no.
Special edition DVDs were the best. You just don't get anything like that anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame.
Yeah. However, if Biffle wants to release a special edition Tron Catalyst with a disc and a light cycle, I'll test it out.
Yeah, I want a light cycle in real life. I want it now.
I do. Imagine if you cut, like someone's getting on your nerves, you could just like zoom in front of them, make them smash into your light beam.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be so good.
On the M25.
Yeah.
No one would be going fast enough on the M25.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a light pedal bike, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah. Tron Windjammers would be a great... Do you know, like, what was the one with, like, because you do the disc and you'd throw the disc as it's part of the sport within the world. Why has no one made a Tron Windjammers game?
That's a very good point. Wasn't the original game on the arcade a little bit like that?
Yeah. But
yeah, you could make it a full Windjammers type thing, yeah.
Bithel. You could do, like, a California game scenario with Tron aesthetic. Just saying.
Get him going on it. Email him.
I'd play it.
Message him.
I'll play it. But
jump into his DMs.
Tronifornia. No, I don't know. Don't let me know.
I don't know. I quite like that, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm the best arbiter of this kind of taste, but I like it.
No, you enable me. You're an enabler.
I am. To be fair, I really am.
But what you are good at is shutting me up, so I am going to do that now so you can take us out.
I will definitely take us out, yes. Thanks for listening, and some really interesting games this week and really interesting ones coming up. It's just turning out to be a very good year again, which is excellent. But until next time, make sure you're following us on all the socials, check out our content on the website, and until next week, stay safe and stay sane.